Well, hello, thank you for joining me today again on the Church History Trail. You're very welcome to the programme, and we're continuing here at the village of Saintfield. And although it looks very peaceful here today, back in 1798 on the 9th of June, it certainly was anything but quiet and peaceful. And we're outside a house here. A lovely looking house, but if you look at the name of the house, it's called Fencibles Green, and it's number 11. And of course, the reason why it's called that, and you can see a monument there with crossed swords. The reason why it's called that is because this was part of the Battle of Saintfield, and this is where the yeomanry Fencibles marched and were ambushed by the United Irishmen, who were gathered just down the hill there. So big history here with Saintfield and the 1798 rebellion. Now I want to talk to you about three gentlemen, and the first one is John Skelly. Now John Skelly of Tully West took the oath of allegiance to the government, but his wife wasn't happy with him for doing this, and so persuaded him over to the rebels. Now John, who was a farmer, was present at the sacking of Saintfield House by the rebels in 1798, and I'll show you the gatehouse of Saintfield House. Now the rebels held the house for a time until after their defeat at the Battle of Ballynahinch, and the house was owned, and actually still is owned, by the Price family, and of course they helped to build Saintfield into what it is today. And Nicholas Price, or Squire Nicholas Price should I say, the owner during that time of the 1798 rebellion, was away on business in Dublin. So the insurgents, instead of killing him, they shot dead a servant instead. Now, when John Skelly was arrested by the yeomanry in his own house, a silver ink stand was noticed on his mantel board, and it was recognised as belonging to Squire Nicholas Price, the old squire. And it was on this evidence then that John Skelly was sentenced to hang. Now the newspaper of the day on the 27th July 1798, and that's of course the newsletter, here's what it said: the following persons have been lately tried at Downpatrick. It mentions a number of them, and then it says John Skelly of Creevy Tenant, farmer, tried for treason, he having a command in the rebel army, and for seditious practices, sentence death, executed the 21st instant. And if you look at the sign here, you would think you're in England, the Cotswold Downs, but you're actually not. You're in Saintfield, County Down. So nice houses, aren't they? So there you are. Now, whenever Mrs. Skelly heard of her husband's impending fate, she took a horse and cart to the county town, and she brought the body home to Saintfield and buried it in the Presbyterian churchyard. Now, I haven't been able to locate that grave, unfortunately, and I did search for it, but off the internet I was able to get the text that's on the grave, and it says, "Sacred to the memory of John Skelly, who departed this life in July 1798, aged 34 years. But as I say, unfortunately I wasn't able to find that grave, to locate that grave. There's a wee dog barking. That's a wee Alsatian. Hope it doesn't jump that fence. Oh, it's coming down. Hello. Hello. I think I think I'll move on quickly. So I will. So I'm going to show you the gatehouse now, which is over here. I hope that dog can't get out. Or I'm tatty bread, as they would say here. Because with my knees, there's no way I can run. So this is, as you can see the wall there, this used to be the domain, Saintfield domain, and Saintfield house. But of course part of this has been sold. So Saintfield house hasn't got it. The grounds are lovely, I was up at it. I'm still waiting to hear from the gentleman where I'm allowed to film up there or not. But it's certainly not as big now as it used to be, obviously. And I've lost one of my papers there, so I'm going to have to lift it. You'll have to excuse me. So, certainly not as big as it used to be. And you no longer can get into the domain from this side. But you can see the gatehouse there. You have to, if you're looking to go to the domain, and it's private property, so you can't just waltz on in, but you get into it from the old Cumber Road now, or the old Belfast Road, sorry. This is the Cumber Road we're on, but that's the old gatehouse, and you can see the wall there, and then you can see two pillars there where the wall's been separated, and that says Demise Gate, or the domain in other words. But you can see there's a T-junction, and that's because it's a dead end, and they've actually built houses on that part of the estate now, so they have, as you can see. So I did drive up there, but it is indeed a dead end, just like the sign says. But still amazing, none the least. Big bit of history here, of course. So we'll try and get over this roundabout if we can, without getting killed. So you can see the graveyard there. So the battlefield stretches right across here. So it does, as you can see. This is the Cumber Road that we're on. We're now going down Cumber Street, as you can see. But this is amazing now the way they have this, because when I done my last video of the Battle of Saintfield, which was maybe a year and a half ago or something like that, maybe 2 years ago, this was all grew up, so you could see nothing really. You could hardly even see the stream, but it's fantastic. Now you can see right across the road there, and you can see plenty of the river, because they have it all cut back, which is absolutely fantastic. As you can see, isn't that amazing? That was all grew up. If you check out my other video on the Battle of Saintfield, you'll see where that's all grew up. You could see really nothing. You couldn't see the stream really, but you can definitely see the stream now. It's fantastic. And you get a good view of the church as well now up there, and the graveyard. And of course then this is a memorial garden to the battlefield. So I want to talk to you about another man now. That was John Skelly. You can see a lovely house there as well. Beautiful wee house, isn't it? So that was John Skelly. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to locate his grave. Now up there takes you up into the town. And that's the church there, as you can see, with a spire. But unfortunately, I haven't been able to locate John's grave. But I want to talk to you about another gentleman who's got a big connection here. And that is the Reverend Francis Hutcheson. Now, the Reverend Hutcheson was born on the 8th of August 1694 in Saintfield here in County Down to Ulster Scots Presbyterians. You can see some old graves there. Now, the father of Francis, who was called John, he was the Presbyterian minister of Downpatrick at the time when Francis was born in the manse at Saintfield. And you can see, it's lovely to see the flowers coming out. You know what that means? That means summer is on the way. Hopefully the good weather will be on the way with it. It's a great day today. So I've covered this before, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. You can check out the other video, the Battle of Saintfield. But this says, in memory of the York Fencibles, Yeomen and United Irishmen who died at the Battle of Saintfield, 9th of June 1798. And as I say, all that was grew up when I done my last video, but it's all cut today. It's amazing. You can see to the other side of the road. You couldn't see that the last time. So I'm not going to read these really. I tell you, I'll just read the headings there. 1775 to 1798 historical background. So if you want to pause the video, and if you want to read that at your own leisure, you can. I'm going to take you up, and we'll finish with this plaque up the top of Francis Hutcheson. So I'll read that out to you later. Now, Francis went to school in Saintfield, after which he was educated in Killaloe, which is not too far from here, and he then went to study at Glasgow University in Scotland. So 1791, Society of United Irishmen. Again, if you want to pause the video, you can. There's the church, Saintfield First Presbyterian Church, built 1777, which is at the top of the hill there. The one I showed you with the spire. But amazing to be able to actually see what this is like. As I say, it was all overgrown when I done my video. It's definitely not overgrown today. So you've done a good job, guys. Whoever cut this, thumbs up to it. Excellent. Now, Francis himself was a probationary Presbyterian minister in Armagh in 1718. But he moved to Dublin, and of course the reason for that was because of his liberal views being too much for his congregation. So he had to move on. So that's the road there, that's the gatehouse there that I just showed you. To the domain. And then that's the road. So this is where all the fighting took place. So I'm going to show you this board. I'll mention a wee bit about this board. I'll show you them two graves there. I showed you them the last time. That's the headstones of United Irishmen, James McEwen and John Lorry. And there's the Reverend Birch, who was the minister of the church there during the time of the rebellion. And that's the stream that divides the burial site, locally known as York Island. I couldn't have showed you that in the last video. It was all just covered with trees. Now, the stream's been diverted, so it has. So I'll read this out to you. At the time of the battle, the stream on this site divided and formed a small island. The Fencibles and some rebels were buried there, and it became known locally as York Island. The stream has since been diverted, and the island now forms part of the town side of the riverbank, the side we're on. Many of the rebels who were killed were carried away by relatives and buried elsewhere. Others who were badly wounded managed to leave the battleground but died later. Only two were buried in marked graves on this site, and that's James McEwen and John Laurie, and we will pass their graves shortly. So, where you see the stream today, it actually went up sort of that way. This was all divided, so that stream has been rerouted, so to speak. So we're actually going to be heading into where the mass burial site was shortly of the United Irishmen and the Fencibles. So there's another wee board here, but before I show you it, I want to show you Buckingham Palace. This isn't Buckingham now, this is Buckingham Palace. As you can see, this is a palace of the bugs. So, Francis Hutcheson was an Irish philosopher as well, and he was known as one of the founding fathers of the Scottish Enlightenment, and he's actually remembered as the author of a system of moral philosophy. And his liberal writings influenced the American War for Independence, and also the French Revolution, and also the 1798 Rebellion. So that's the connection that Francis Hutcheson has with the 1798 Rebellion. So you can pause the video again if you want to. 1796, the 1832 Rebellion in Ireland. There's that's Lieutenant General Lake and Lord Camden, and then that's Henry Joy McCracken and Lord Edward Fitzgerald. So these are the two marked graves of the insurgents. Here lies the body of John Laurie of, where's that? I think it's Ballymena, I'm not sure. Hard to read the old writing on of parish of, oh, it's Calinchi, so it's not Ballymena, who died June 19th, 1798, aged 46 years. So you can see that there, he died 19th of June, 1798, aged 46. So obviously died as a result of the battle, either by wounds or else execution, probably by wounds, I would say. And then this is James McEwen. Here left the remains of James McEwen, 1798. Again, June, hard to make that one out. But so that's the marked graves of the two insurgents. And so this was part of the island, and this was all mass burial ground here. But a lot of them, if not all of them, were later dug up by relatives. There might be still some here, of course, and reburied. So this is the board here. Near this spot was fought the Battle of Saintfield on Saturday the 9th of June 1798 between the United Irishmen and the Royalist forces. Most of the dead of both sides are interred at the rear of this plaque, so a lot of them are still there. The two adjoining headstones are those of insurgents who fell that day, the two I've just showed you. So this is a lengthy video, but it was great to be able to see with all that foliage cut down. Now, Professor Hutcheson returned to Glasgow University in 1729 to become chair of moral philosophy, and was the I've lost my place here, give me a wee second. Yeah, here we go. He was the first professor there to lecture in English instead of Latin. Now, during a visit to Dublin in 1746, on the 8th of August, he died and was buried in the unmarked grave, in an unmarked grave in St Mary's Churchyard in the city, age 52. And that's St Mary's. I think that's the same one where the preserved bodies used to be buried until somebody started a fire and they were destroyed, if I remember rightly. I think that was St Mary's in Dublin. In the crypt, I've actually seen those bodies. You won't see them again because some header set fire to them. But there was, I think it was a Norman knight, and his body was preserved, if I remember rightly. There was another guy and his hand was cut off. But unfortunately they are no more because they were burnt in a deliberate fire. So not to worry. What do you do? But anyway, so Francis Hutcheson was born on the 8th of August 1694 and he died on the 8th of August 1746. So he actually died the same day he was born, the 8th of August, only he was born in 1694 and he died in 1746. So you can see another crypt there. So I'll take you up and show you that in a wee minute. I want to show you this first. Can't read all of this, but it's here they have the body of, it's Joseph, whoever Joseph is, and it seems that Joseph departed this life, 1789, as you can see there. So that's before the rebellion even happened. So that's an old one. And then this is a crypt here. And you can see like a lion there, crest on that. Now here's it off. The family burying place of James Wallace, that's what it says. And it was built in the year 1780, if you can see that. So again, that's before the rebellion. So that's the family burial place of James Wallace, and it was built in 1780. So a bit of history there as well. So there's another gentleman, and I want to show you his grave because I actually came across his grave when I was searching for John Skelly's. Now, there's a lot of Skellys buried in here, but not the Skelly that we're looking, not John Skelly. They're more later Skellys, unless he's buried in one of those graves without his name on it. I do not know. But anyway, I came across this gentleman's grave, and when I researched him, I couldn't believe what I was reading. His name is Reverend Henry Simpson. And following the defeat of the United Irish rebels at the Battle of Ballynahinch on the 13th of June 1798, the Reverend Ledley Birch, who had been the Presbyterian minister in Saintfield, and the Reverend Birch actually became a chaplain to the United Irishmen in County Down. But the Reverend Birch was a prominent United Irishman, and he actually just managed to escape the death penalty, along with his son, who was also an insurgent. This would seem to be on the basis that the Reverend Birch's brother, well, he was a commander anyway, George Birch. He was a commander, he was the loyalist commander of the Newton Ards Yeomanry, and he was also a physician to the Londonderry family, a good friend of Lord Londonderry. So it would seem that he's obviously put a good word in, and that's why he escaped the death penalty, so long as the Reverend Birch would leave for America, go into exile. And of course that's what he did. But the Reverend Birch had formed the first society of United Irishmen here in County Down in his manse, which he renamed Liberty Hall. So you get a good view here of the graveyard, which takes you down to the battle site. So he ended up then, of course, in exile, and as I say there, he was actually a chaplain to the United Irish in County Down. So now that he was in exile, the congregation had a bit of a dilemma because there's no minister, and so they sent a letter of invitation to the Reverend Henry Simpson to replace the Reverend Henry Birch. I think it was about 100 signatures on it, and the letter was dated 23rd of September in the year of our Lord 1799, and he accepted, and so he became the Reverend Birch's replacement here in Saintfield Presbyterian, of what would become First Saintfield, because of course many in the congregation weren't happy with the Reverend Birch's political views and radicalism, and so some left to join another church. Others started Second Presbyterian Church, and I've covered a wee video there as well. I'm going to show you the date stone here for the church, and I've covered some inside this church and inside the hall there as well, and they do have some artifacts of the period, so check those out. You'll get them under the 1798 Rebellion section in my playlist, but you can see there it says 1777. So this is the grave then of the Reverend Henry Simpson, who replaced the Reverend Birch. And as I say, I was looking to see if I could find John Skelly's grave, and I came across this. So this was a big bonus. So it was. Quite amazing, isn't it? So it says, erected by Mary H.K. Wallace in memory of her father, the Reverend Henry Simpson, minister of the First Presbyterian Congregation of Saintfield during a period of 50 years. That was some going. He certainly lasted longer than the Reverend Birch did. Died October 23rd, 1849, aged 72 years. So that was the Reverend Birch's replacement, the Reverend Henry Simpson, who of course was here then for 50 years. That was some going as a minister, no doubt about it. So there's only one more thing now for me to show you, and it's the plaque of Francis Hutcheson, and then we're going to wrap this wee video up. It has been a lengthy video, but there was a lot to cover there. And as I say, I've done loads of videos in Saintfield from I started my YouTube channel, and if you go to the 1798 Rebellion section, you'll see that the very first video is the Battle of Saintfield, and you'll see all that growth, so you will. And I also talk a wee bit about the religious views of the Reverend Birch, because a lot of people don't realise, but not only was there political views, philosophical views, but a lot of these United Irishmen were ministers, and they actually had religious views on the rebellion as well. So this is the plaque to Francis Hutcheson, and it says, Francis Hutcheson, 1694 to 1746, philosopher and teacher, born in the manse at Drumaleg, which is not too far out the road. So I'm hoping that that manse is still there, and hopefully I'll be able to find it. So thanks for watching, and God bless.